On my 30th birthday, I received a love letter from when he was 17, and I could talk to his 17-year-old self. Awkwardly, he asked, "Did we end up getting married in the future?" I said, "Yeah." I lied. He actually died that summer. When it was time to pay, my blind date excused himself to use the restroom. His phone lit up on the table, showing a WeChat message he'd sent. "She has a stable job and an okay personality, but she's shockingly average in every way. And she's already 30. I've got decent options. I can do better." I calmly paid the bill. It was a 50 per person set meal. Right after I paid, the guy came back, gave a sheepish smile, and said, "Wanna split it?" I shook my head. As I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out, my mum called. Her voice came through the line, "How was it this time?" "He's a civil servant. About your age. Pretty good conditions." Holding my phone, I weaved through the rush hour crowd, passing a bakery where the clerk was setting a box of soon-to-expire cakes on the clearance shelf. I stayed silent. That was my answer. My mum's voice rose, anxious and panicked. "Jennifer, you're turning 30 tomorrow. Can you be a little more realistic?" I glanced up at the sky and said, "Okay." I brought home that clearance cake. Only then, in a sudden flash, did it hit me by tomorrow I'd be 30. I couldn't wait until midnight. I lit the candles early. I didn't make a wish. Maybe because deep down, I knew what I wanted would never come true. But when I opened my eyes, the candlelight revealed a letter in front of me. It smelled faintly of freesia, a white envelope addressed to classmate Xiao Yuan, in a familiar, wild scrawl. No name signed, but my eyelid twitched. I already knew who it was. Only one person ever called me classmate Xiao Yuan, a barely literate fool. I pulled out the letter. Just 2 lines. "Classmate Xiao Yuan, I like you. Don't act like you don't know what's good for you." The date at the bottom read March 1st, 2017. That was when I was a sophomore, 17. So was he. But I never got that letter back then. The ink was fresh, like it had just been written. So arrogant. The handwriting had been scratched out in a hurry, like even the writer was embarrassed. Strangely, I didn't feel scared. I grabbed a pen and casually wrote 2 words beneath it. "Get help." He froze for a long time, as if shocked. Then, hesitantly, a few words appeared. "Who are you?" It almost felt like I was hallucinating. I held my breath and lied smoothly. 17-year-old Luke? I'm your fairy godmother." He was silent for a long time, trying to process that. Eventually, 2 bold words appeared, this time from him. "Get help." I picked up the pen again and wrote steadily. "I really am your fairy godmother. I have a feeling you're going to twist your ankle playing basketball tomorrow. You better be careful." He didn't respond, clearly didn't believe me. I smugly put down the pen. "Just wait. Ignore the godmother and you'll be limping for a month." Luke always called me that from the start. He transferred to our school sophomore year, instantly becoming the campus heartthrob. During the placement test for English, he sat behind me. With those long fox-like eyes, he leaned on his hand and grinned. "Classmate Xiao Yuan." The test list was in Pinyin. My name is Lin Yuan, but the second part of my name in English is Jennifer. This illiterate guy took a glance and assumed Yuan was the pronunciation. Luke had long legs. He hooked the leg of my chair easily. I turned around, and the light hit his lashes and tousled hair, his high nose bridge glowing. "Help me out." I nodded without hesitation. When the results came out, I scored 30 in English. He got 38, slightly better. Probably did better on the essay. After sorting, both of us got stuck in the lowest ranking class because of our terrible scores. When he walked up to me, I thought I was about to get beat up by the school bully, but he stopped in front of me, gave my head a messy rub, and clicked his tongue. "Classmate Xiao Yuan, your English sucks. Want me to tutor you?" 38 tutoring, 30. He was confident all right. I turned away in annoyance. Honestly, my grades weren't that bad, But my parents had been in a messy divorce for a while. I tanked the exam on purpose to get their attention. Too bad it didn't work, just ended up getting Luke stuck on me instead. Luke kept pestering me for a long time. Classmate Xiao Yuan. Classmate Xiao Yuan. He called me that for a whole year. When people finally stopped using that nickname, I almost missed it. On my 30th birthday, I did nothing. Took the day off and stayed home. That letter sat on the table in front of me. I rested my chin on my hand, staring at it for a long time. Our last conversation was still on the paper. Then a WeChat message popped up on my phone. It was from the blind date. Want to meet up again and talk more? I actually like you. I wasn't good enough for him, but I could be a plan B. But once upon a time, I was someone's number one. Just as I was about to reply, a furious line appeared on the letter. Are you really a fairy godmother? More like a witch. I fell and messed up my leg. Of course I knew. That year, Luke injured his leg, held it over my head for weeks. It wasn't even that serious, but he made me run errands for him. Water, lunch, homework. All because of one phrase. Classmate Xiao Yuan. I stood in front of him back then, laughing in exasperation. You want me to help you pee too? What did he say? He leaned in, faked a weak slump onto my shoulder, breath warm against my neck, smirking wickedly. If you're willing, I wouldn't mind. And here I am at 30, still remembering how charming his expression was back then. Before I could write more, another line appeared on the page. He asked, if you're a fairy, where are you? Why can't I see you? I gripped the pen tightly and wrote slowly. I'm waiting for you in a far-off future. He asked, hesitantly. Did classmate Xiao Yuan become a journalist? I wrote, yes. That was my first lie. My dream of journalism died the year I graduated. Now I work a desk job, churning out meaningless words every day. Did I become a cop? I wrote, yes. The second lie. He never made it to that future. His next message practically trembled with joy. After a long pause, he awkwardly added, pretending it was nothing. Did I marry classmate Xiao Yuan? My heart blazed. So he really did like me, even at 17. The tragedy was, I only truly knew it at 30. Fighting back the ache in my chest, my hand trembled as I wrote, yes. A long silence followed. Then, in a flourish of wild strokes, bold words appeared on the paper. I knew it. I knew she had a thing for me. I'd fooled a fool, and I felt horribly guilty. In March 2017, after my grades took a nosedive, I was made to stand outside the homeroom teacher's office. She was on the phone with my parents. Neither of them picked up. Across from me on the wall were college recruitment posters. I read them aimlessly. I'd never thought about what college to go to. Whatever happened, happened. The future felt untouchable. Suddenly, Luke's voice popped up beside me. He pointed to one of the posters and said, I'm gonna go to this police academy. His leg was still injured. No idea why he was standing next to me. I tried to turn my head, but he grabbed the back of my neck and held it still. His fingertips were cold. You should go to the media university across the street from mine. That way I can just walk over. Be a journalist. I thought maybe he'd seen the major I'd written on my form last class and was going to talk about my strengths like being honest, brave enough to speak out. But Luke lazily added, you have a nice smile. The radio was playing a hit song from that year. I think it was called The Wind Rises. I didn't say anything and suddenly walked down the hallway. As I turned the corner, Luke grinned and called out, classmate Xiao Yuan. I looked back. He was standing where the light hit, wind tousling his hair, his profile radiant. Where you going? He asked. I snapped, bathroom. He looked at me and chuckled in response. The radio lyrics were just at. Glancing across the years, I suddenly caught your smile. Anyone meeting Luke at 17 would have found him insufferable. He showed up for just a moment, but left me dazed for a lifetime. Later, I did go to that media university. I crossed that street many times, closed my eyes for 30 seconds, opened them again and never saw Luke. Liar. So maybe from the start, we shouldn't have bothered each other at all. Luke didn't say much. After I gave him the answers he wanted, he never wrote again. I kept the letter where I could see it at a glance. Days passed, nothing new. Until one day, after getting chewed out by my 50-something balding boss, I glanced at the letter out of habit. And finally, there was new handwriting. An elegant conic curve appeared on the page, scribbled mathwork. A little impatient. I clenched my jaw. Luke, are you doing math homework drafts on the fairy godmother's love letter? He finally seemed to realize. You're still here? Yeah. I'd never left. I asked. Classmate Xiao Yuan's ignoring you now, huh? The letter was pressed with a scribbled mark of frustration. Guess I hit the nail on the head. I checked the date. Time flowed equally on both sides. It should be the 7th over there. My period always starts around the 7th or 8th. I wrote, "It's her period today." Then I watched the words on the page get scratched out and rewritten, ending in a shaky, embarrassed, "Oh, I forgot he's still 17. Of course he's shy about stuff like that. I set down the pen, smiling. Suddenly, a memory I'd never lived flickered in my mind, vivid and completely new, like it had really happened. I saw 17-year-old Jennifer walk into the classroom, lips a little pale. The room buzzed with chatter between classes. She noticed a cup of warm ginger tea on her desk, unsure who left it. If she turned around, she'd see a lazy boy by the window holding a book over his face, but the tips of his ears were flushed red. That memory aged rapidly, turning dusty and vague, no longer sealed clearly in my mind. I blinked and stared blankly at the letter, almost tearing up. So, did that just happen? Because of my words? I wrote on the letter, "Luke, where'd you even get ginger tea?" He replied, "Don't worry about it." I changed the subject, coaxing. "The fairy godmother's message is from far, far in the future. She says high school you is such a clueless boy." He went quiet. I added, "So you'd better listen to my advice." I didn't really expect him to. Luke's never been one to listen to others. He could be unbelievably arrogant, but his reply was, "Fine. If it makes classmate Xiao Yuan like me more, then fine." I sat at my desk, staring at those words, my knuckles white around the pen. Everything I'd done, reaching across time, was to deceive the boy I once knew, teach him how to stay away from Xiao Yuan. Don't save her again, Luke. Luke started treating me like his emotional dump. He'd begin with Xiao Yuan and end with Xiao Yuan. He mentioned other things too, but always circled back. If life was a looping circle, then Xiao Yuan was his center. "Xiao Yuan's got a new hair clip. It's cute." So he swiped it off her head. "That science guy from Class A keeps borrowing books from her. Why can't he buy his own?" Then he demolished Class A on the basketball court. I listened quietly to all his little confessions. In fragments, the blue and white uniformed school came back to life. I'd never known about Luke's teenage thoughts before. Patiently, I kept correcting his behavior. "Don't annoy Xiao Yuan too much. Keep your distance, girls. Hate clingy guys. Don't bring strawberry milk from the corner shop. Bring bitter coffee to help her stay awake. Be a good classmate. Remind her to study. Stop bossing her around. And say hi and thank you like a decent person." Luke actually followed my advice for a while. His tone toward me even got gentler. "She doesn't hate me as much now." I pressed my lips together, forced myself to write stiffly. "You thought she hated you?" After a pause, he replied, "Yeah." I buried my face in my arms, frustrated and helpless, because back then, I really did hate him. But actually, Luke was smart. He transferred late and missed the Chinese test, but in every other subject he was nearly perfect. It wasn't until now that I realized his real level. He just never had a chance to show it. I gritted my teeth. "Then why'd you cheat off Xiao Yuan's English test during the placement exam?" Luke's handwriting was wild. Cocky. How else could I call her classmate Xiao Yuan? Anyone can call her Jennifer. But from the moment I saw her, she was classmate Xiao Yuan to me. I had to be special from the start. He really was a dazzling person. Even someone as indifferent as me knew it. In high school, the flashiest kids had one of three things: looks, family, or grades. Luke had all three. He was good-looking. His dad had died in the line of duty as a cop. And his low-class rank? Just another way he stood out. I couldn't figure out why he liked me. I sighed and wrote, "Why does it have to be Xiao Yuan?" Luke wrote back 4 words: the Xiao Yuan effect. When the Tyndall effect happens, light gains form. When classmate Xiao Yuan appeared, Luke's feelings took shape. It's been years. Do you know how long I searched just to send this to you? On the phone, my mom sounded impatient. Didn't you agree to see that civil servant guy again? Why'd he say you're ignoring him? Holding the phone in one hand, I casually opened the package Mom had just mailed me and mumbled, "I'll meet him soon." I hung up and flipped the phone face down on the table. I knew she was probably furious on the other end, but I had more important things to do. Inside the package was a small tin cookie box, scorched black in places from fire and oxidized by time. I held my breath and opened it. Dust-covered years spilled out like Pandora's box. There weren't many items inside, just a diary, a Band-Aid, and a hair clip. I flipped open the diary. I wasn't big on journaling back in school, so there was barely anything written. But I'd already found what I was looking for. March 31, 2017. Heavy rain by the bay. Ran with Luke. It's been over 10 years. A lot of moments I thought I'd remember forever. I forgot within 3 to 5. But when I closed my eyes, I could still recall it vividly. I was a child nobody wanted. Even back then, I vaguely knew I hated all those dazzling people, including annoying Luke, because they seemed so worthy of love. That Friday, I went home long before school ended. My parents had finalized their divorce that day, and it felt like a weight had finally lifted from my chest, but neither of them wanted me. I sat on the couch, listening to them push me back and forth. My dad said a girl should stay with her mom. My mom said no, her finances were too tight. The door was open. Neighbors were eavesdropping. I remember thinking, why hasn't it started raining yet? Maybe it could just flood and drown me. I closed my eyes and counted to 30, hoping things would look different when I opened them again. Luke taught me that trick. But before I reached 30, a sharp voice cut through. Luke, who had no business being there, stood in the doorway and kicked the door hard. Bam! The arguing stopped instantly. His face was grim. "The hell are y'all yelling for?" My parents stared at the tall boy in shock, speechless. Luke spoke, pausing with each word. "You don't want her? I do." He stepped forward, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me out away from the screaming, the nosy neighbors. As I followed his hurried steps, I noticed he was holding a white backpack in his other hand. The zipper wasn't fully closed, and inside it was stuffed with homework. Only then did I realize I'd left my bag at school. He was just a classmate kindly bringing me my assignments. He'd walked into a melodramatic family drama. Luke was pissed, lips tight, temple visibly twitching, but he also looked hurt. Downstairs was a sleek motorcycle. I eyed it for a moment before Luke stopped in front of it. Without asking me, he shoved a pink helmet over my head. My neck sank under its weight as he pressed it down hard. Seeing how dumb I looked, he chuckled. "Classmate Xiao Yuan? I must be pretty lucky. From now on, close your eyes for 30 seconds. It'll smell like the sea." Liar. That was no 30 seconds, it felt like forever. I'd never been on a motorcycle before. I clung tightly to Luke's slim waist for safety. We zipped through the cluttered city and sped toward the distant bay. By then, the sky was a deep navy. Fewer cars out there. The only thing that could keep up with us was the sea breeze. It started pouring midway. Rain soaked our clothes, trickled into our helmets. The wet fabric clung to our skin. Only his body gave off warmth. That was the first time I didn't totally hate Luke. He laughed freely. "Breaking you out of here! If it hadn't been for that downpour, I would have never let him be my friend." On the letter, the date had caught up to March 31, the rainy day in the diary. I hadn't reached out yet, he found me first. his scrawled words. "You there? $10 to read my fortune." I calmly replied. "I'm a Western fairy godmother, not a Taoist, Luke." He absent-mindedly doodled over my neat handwriting. I gave in. "Fine. What do you want me to read? Tell me the odds of finding her." I was confused. He seemed annoyed with my slowness. I could practically hear his click of the tongue. "It's only noon." And she suddenly ran home. Didn't even take her bag. Just thinking about how many assignments she's left undone stresses me out. So I'm ditching class to deliver them. I thanked him on behalf of 17-year-old Jennifer. He shrugged it off. Problem is, I don't know where she lives. No one in class knows. Just that she takes a long bus ride. There are tons of old apartment buildings along that route. I'll have to check them one by one. I froze. I never knew that's how he found me that day. It was already evening. No wonder he said he got lucky. "I just did your reading." I wrote, "Go east. Head to Chingchun South Road. You'll find her there." He was doubtful. "Really?" "Truth is, I lived in the west. Chingchun South Road was in the east. He could search all day and never find me." "Luke, I read your fortune. This time, you won't find her." I felt guilty, but afraid he'd notice. I wrote fast and firm. "Really? When have I ever lied to you?" I stared at the paper for a long time. No more words appeared. I guess he believed me. Drowsiness swept over me, and I went straight to bed. In my dreams, new memories surfaced while old ones were quietly erased. That night, March 31, 2017, I never saw Luke. I sat on that same couch, surrounded by yelling, watched the rain arrive late. Luke wandered Chingchun South Road over and over, caught in the storm, and never found his girl. When I woke up, I felt drained, like my memories had been hollowed out. The diary still lay open on the desk. March 31, 2017. Heavy rain. Just the date and weather. The page was blank, like something had been wiped away. On the letter, a furious line appeared. What kind of fortune was that? I didn't see her anywhere on that road. I sighed. Eastern and Western culture differ. Fortune-telling might not be my strong suit. I'll try prophecy next time. Anyway, she probably felt pretty happy not getting the homework. Luke went silent. I giggled as I wrote. "Don't be mad. I'll let you in on a secret about classmate Xiao Yuan. She really likes that song, 'The Wind Rises.' Later, she said if you'd sung and played it at the school festival in June, she would have fallen for you on the spot." I saw ink bleed beneath the word fallen. He'd paused there a long while, pen trembling. Then two bold words flew across the page. "Just wait." The keys to the school piano room were all held by Julia from Class A. As head of the student council's arts department, she was also in charge of the school's talent show. If Luke wanted to practice piano again, he'd inevitably have to deal with her. Julia was beautiful, outstanding, and most importantly, she was Luke's childhood friend, and she liked him. After Luke died, she came to me more than once. She yanked my hair, screaming hysterically. She asked me why it wasn't me who died. Later, Julia went abroad, maybe trying to forget Luke. She and Luke were the same kind of people. I wasn't. I felt like I was forgetting things, so I tried to write down everything I could still recall. A normal notebook wouldn't do it, would end up like a diary, with the writing erased. I used the cover of that love letter. I'd already confirmed that Luke wouldn't see anything I wrote on the envelope. After that heavy rain at the end of March, I forgot what triggered it, but I started thinking Luke wasn't so bad. I no longer resisted his presence, decided I could consider him a friend. My parents did divorce in the end. I stayed with my dad. After freeing herself from a failed marriage, my mum quickly moved out of the city. My dad had to travel for work, so during that time, he left me with my uncle. I protested, but he ignored me. My cousin Jack lived there. He was supposedly attending a prestigious university but was somehow on leave and staying home. My aunt spoiled him like he was made of gold. When Dad dropped me off, He said it was a great opportunity to learn from Jack and improve my awful grades. Jack started tutoring me. He wore glasses and always smiled gently. Honestly, he was more responsible than my parents. He even picked me up from school, saying it wasn't safe for girls to walk home alone at night. Luke once saw him waiting for me at the gate, yanked on my backpack strap to pull me over, then casually slung his arm over my shoulder. Standing lazily, his fox-like eyes narrowed as he glanced at Jack and asked sweetly, "Classmate, Xiao Yuan, who's this?" Jack adjusted his glasses and said politely, "I'm Jennifer's cousin, Jack." Luke visibly relaxed. Back then, none of that had happened yet. Everything was still soft and peaceful. Luke was my one and only special friend, annoying, but within tolerable limits. Before every game, he'd force me to sit in the front row and drape his jacket over my head. It always smelled faintly of clean soap. He was tall, easy to spot in a crowd, always surrounded by people. Yet he liked yelling classmate Xiao Yuan at me from afar. Just to show he was different, I started looking into that media university. But the browser tab kept lingering on the image of the police academy next to it. Julia once sought me out and warned me, "Luke only cares about you because he feels sorry for you. He has lots of friends and treats everyone well. Don't get the wrong idea." I shrugged. Honestly, if she hadn't said it, I wouldn't have even thought that far. These were all things that happened in April of that year, bright and delicate, like drifting spring willow fluff. But 30-year-old me only wished Luke could live a little smoother. So if I had to alter the last good memories of that April, it was worth it. With my hints, in that time-space linked through the letter, Luke started practicing that song and inevitably had to interact with Julia. Rumors about the two of them began to spread through the grade. When Luke complained about it, I was eating with that blind date guy again. He sat across from me, face greasy from barbecue. I discreetly covered a corner of the letter and set it aside. I couldn't explain why I kept it on me. Maybe I didn't want to miss a single word from him. Luke wrote irritably, "People are saying things about me and Julia. I think Xiao Yuan would be upset if she heard." I bit the tip of my pen and replied, "But Julia's pretty, right? Liking her would be so much easier." There was a long pause before calm words appeared. "Do you want me to like Julia?" I checked the box for yes. After devouring all the food on the table, my date finally looked up and asked curiously, "What have you been scribbling this whole time?" I brushed it off as work stuff. He grumbled something, then casually asked, "So how much is the bride price in your area?" My answer came out without thinking. "A motorcycle." The moment I said it, both he and I froze. I had no idea why motorcycle came out of my mouth. I searched my memory but couldn't find any reason. I chalked it up to a slip of the tongue. Surprisingly, he seemed quite happy. Maybe he thought a motorcycle was way cheaper than an 88 yuan dowry. I lowered my head and instinctively glanced at the letter. New handwriting had already been resting there for some time. 17-year-old Luke asked, "Is future Xiao Yuan happy?" In fact, since the first time he got an answer he liked, Luke never asked again about his and Xiao Yuan's future. As he put it, he'd walk into her future himself. 30-year-old me replied, "She's very happy. Happy to meet you again, across time and space." Luke and Julia grew closer. Everyone assumed they were a natural pair. Luke stopped telling me about Xiao Yuan. When he played basketball, there was no longer a spot reserved for her. He no longer pointed out which university she should go to, and he no longer pestered classmate Xiao Yuan all the time. His writing became less frequent, as if he was growing tired of the mysterious fairy godmother on the other end of the page. This piece of letter paper was unique. It only had so much space, and once full, the old words would vanish, leaving behind a fresh, blank sheet. But Luke's first line, classmate Xiao Yuan, "I like you, don't act like you don't know what's good for you," remained forever at the top. But now, a quick scan of the new dialogue showed Julia's name dominating the page. "Julia told my mom I bully classmates. Please, I only bully Xiao Yuan." Julia's so annoying. I asked her what girls like, and she sent me her entire shopping cart as payment links. When I'm practicing piano, Julia insists on tagging along. Won't leave even if I try to shoo her. April of 2017 passed quickly. With the upcoming school festival in June, Luke got busier and busier. He had The Wind Rises practically memorized. With my interference, Luke and 17-year-old Xiao Yuan never grew as close as they once had. Instead, they drifted apart, two briefly intersecting lines returning to parallel. May arrived. I called May 2017 the darkest month of my life. People deliberately forget the memories that hurt them. I was no exception. My cousin Jack was a piece of garbage. My aunt screamed at me like I was some shameless girl. Her precious son went to a top university. How could he possibly do something like that? It had to be me. My uncle, red-eyed, tried to reason with me, saying, "We're family. Jack's always been good to you. He just had too much to drink." My dad rushed back and smoked up the entire floor. He and my mum reached an agreement. Their final answer was, "Jennifer, just let it go. A girl needs her reputation. Your name means going with the flow, so just endure it, too." Only Luke asked me, "What did you do wrong?" My cousin often came into my room, saying it was to help me study. Then my underwear started going missing. I called my mum. She just told me I needed to fix my forgetful habits. He took over picking me up and dropping me off from school. There was a dark alley between home and school. One night in May, when the air first started to feel like summer, he pushed me into the shadows. I don't know how long it lasted. When he let go, I collapsed to the ground in pain. Jack crouched down and said softly, "Jennifer, I was just drunk. You won't tell anyone, right?" He loosened his grip, palm full of hair he'd yanked from my scalp. "After all, no one would believe you. No one would care." I called my parents, and just like he said, they wanted to hush it up. They planned to transfer me to a new school, cover up the shame, get me out of this place. That night, I made a call, voice shaking with tears. "Luke, help me." When I hung up, my fingers trembled. But I hadn't shed a single tear since it happened. Crying would only make them think I was weak, easy to manipulate. But the moment Luke showed up, I broke down sobbing. "Luke, it hurts so much. I've never met anyone like him since." Still wearing his blue and white uniform, he knelt down and hugged me with all his strength, yet so gently. He pulled me up, took me to the hospital, to the police, to confront Jack. He and I both refused to stay silent. He sought justice for me. The school had heard about it. Some boys would snicker when I walked by. Julia and her friends would look at me with pity. Luke never broke school rules, yet for some reason, he got into a fight on the basketball court. Heard a basketball hit someone's head so hard they needed stitches. One afternoon, even Julia came to me, looking pale and remorseful. She apologized in a whisper, said she shouldn't have let my story spread through the school. After that, no one dared whisper about me again. But when I passed the grade office, I saw Luke's mum crying and asking him why he did all this. Luke didn't speak. He just looked up and unintentionally met my eyes at the door. He said nothing. Neither did I. He walked out of the darkness like dawn, pulling me out of the chaos. I'm 30 now, but I'll never forget him. Never forget 17-year-old Luke, how he pinned Jack to the ground, eyes sharp with fury. It took the patrolling officers to tear him off, or how he raised the flag in the morning, face aglow in sunlight. He was someone destined to keep rising bright, blazing clear. I exposed Jack's crimes to his university. Turns out he'd been suspended not for illness, but for secretly filming in bathrooms and other offenses. But none of us knew. We all thought he was the unreachable star student. My aunt had always covered for him. She spoiled him since he was a child. During the time I stayed at their house, maybe they'd always known Jack's twisted thoughts. Their silence and indulgence were the greatest accomplices. Maybe I was the target from the beginning. They bullied me because I had no one to protect me. They thought I was just a girl they could control, but someone had my back. We copied the hospital report and police case files to the university. Jack's student status was permanently revoked. Local news reported on his crimes. His gentle facade was ripped away, revealing the black heart of a beast. My aunt and uncle no longer dared call me shameless, because they didn't even dare step outside. My mom once sighed, "Jennifer, enough is enough. Don't go too far. For a girl, if this kind of thing spreads, how will you live? Don't air dirty laundry." I stayed silent for a long time before saying, "What did I do wrong?" That's what Luke asked me that day. I did nothing wrong. I was the victim. Someone held my hand as I walked the path to justice. That's all. When Jack was escorted into the police car, he looked back at Luke and me standing in the crowd. He smiled faintly. It sent chills down my spine. Much later, I realized what that smile meant. Jack had always been smart. He nearly scored perfect in physics and chemistry and got into a dream university. His major had to do with electrical circuits. In June, everything seemed to settle. Cicadas began to sing. I thought Luke and I were stepping into a grand summer together, until a fire broke out, caused by an electrical fault. After moving out of Jack's house, I'd gone back to live in my dad's old place. My mum wanted to stay with me, but I couldn't stand the look on her face, always sighing and fretting. In the end, I lived alone. Luke would often come over after school to do homework. The vendor at the corner fruit shop liked him and always gave us extra cups of watermelon juice. One time, Luke pulled out his hand from behind his back, cupping a tiny yellow kitten, looking puzzled. He said he found it on the road and thought I looked bored, so he brought it for me. He named it Ah Hong. I thought for a moment and asked, "Luke, are you worried I have depression?" Luke laughed so hard his shoulders shook, eyebrows raised. "No, I'm just worried I won't have a good enough reason to see you." I froze. We both looked away at the same time. Out the corner of my eye, I saw the tips of his ears turn the same shade as the rosy clouds settling on the windowsill. The time on the letter had reached May. My memories of 17-year-old Luke were fading. Even Ah Hua, the long-gone cat, left no trace. 30-year-old me had a dream of the fire when I was 17, on June 5, 2017. Luke finally appeared in my dream. Thankfully, dream me still looked 17, not yet dulled by time. I don't know where the fire started. By the time I woke up choking, there was no way out. Flames filled the room, air warped with heat. Little Ah Hua poured at me frantically. I still don't know how Luke got in. He was like a hero who shouldn't exist. The building was high, there was no way to jump. He held Ah Hua and me outside the window, standing in the burning room himself. Firelight lit his face from behind. I could smell scorched flesh. I stood barefoot on a ledge outside. Luke waited until the firefighters arrived and saw with his own eyes that we were safely rescued before finally letting go. I never imagined the first dream I'd have of him would be such a heartbreaking, unforgettable farewell. In the dream, I was carried out by a firefighter, not sobbing like I had in real life, just quietly watching him. I said, "Luke, this time you won't die." Pain clouded his features, and he finally collapsed backward. My last words were, "Luke, stop saving me. You need to walk to your future on your own. My future doesn't have you. It's full of darkness. But if your future doesn't have me, it should still be open and bright." From the moment I was born, they said I was a jinx. My mom lost her job when she got pregnant and never recovered her career. My dad started getting sick that same year. I was the source of all their misfortune. I woke up from the fire dream, drenched in sweat, reached for the lamp, and looked at the letter. Every second, my memories reshaped themselves. This really was my own dark May now. That night, I didn't call him. I walked alone in the dark, bracing myself against the wall. No one had my back anymore. My mom felt a little guilty, but not much. She rushed back, secretly arranged a school transfer, and planned to have me leave in June. But I'm not the kind to take things lying down. First I stabbed Jack, then I reported him to his school. I knew his greatest pride was that university. If I had to suffer, so did he. But this time, I was alone. No one encouraged me. No one supported me. This was all I could do, and all I dared to do. It was all kept quiet on our side. My aunt and uncle covered everything up. To my classmates, I had just taken 2 weeks off for health reasons. It was all kept quiet on our side. My aunt and uncle covered everything up. To my classmates, I had just taken 2 weeks off for health reasons. Looking again at this letter connecting me to my 17-year-old self, I was grateful I hadn't dragged Luke into it this time. I'll never forget the day he beat Jack half to death, and his mom, in tears, asked him, "Luke, you want to be a cop. How can you leave a record for fighting like a thug?" I had no right to speak for him, could only sob into my hands in a hidden corner. At least I changed things this time. I was enough on my own. Luke had barely spoken on the letter since. One afternoon, he scribbled casually, "Why has classmate Xiao Yuan been out for 2 weeks? Just realized it's been a while since she came around." I held back my tears and responded lightly, "Her cousin's wedding is in the next city. She's the bridesmaid, helping with the planning." Luke paused for a bit, then replied casually, "A wedding? Huh?" That was the end of it. I don't know if he remembered, but our very first conversation was about whether future Luke married classmate Xiao Yuan. And now, current Luke no longer seemed to care about her. 17-year-old Luke only needed a little nudge to get back on track. I kept counting the days anxiously. June 5, 2017, engraved in my heart. Even though I believed the fire might never happen again, and Luke probably wouldn't go to Xiao Yuan's house, since that night was also the school's talent show. His solo piano performance of The Wind Rises was on the program. He wouldn't leave the venue. Still, I was uneasy, like trapped in that dreadful hour before dawn. I picked up the pen and wrote cautiously, "Just checking in your piece is ready, right? You're definitely going up there?" I waited a long time for a reply. "Of course. Practice so long if I don't go up. It'd all be a waste." I finally relaxed. Luke's decision to perform wasn't for Xiao Yuan, it was just that he didn't want to waste the effort. He didn't even ask why Xiao Yuan wasn't coming. That day, I took leave and stayed home. The windows were wide open, white curtains billowing in the night breeze. I waited quietly for my ending death, or being forgotten by Luke. Either outcome felt about the same, but I was truly happy. Luke, more than anyone, I wanted to see you alive, always under the sun. I leaned on the sofa and fell asleep, like sucked into a whirlpool of time. I dreamed again. Maybe it wasn't a dream. Maybe it was happening still. I saw the fire start in my home again. I panicked. Hua was no longer by my side. I cried in despair, until a clean pair of arms held me. This time, he and I had no connection. To 17-year-old Xiao Yuan, Luke was just a vaguely familiar classmate. But he still came. Luke lifted me toward the window, not in his school uniform, but wearing the black suit he'd prepared for the performance. The wind was searing hot. Still, he was calm, smiling through the pain. He said, "Classmate Xiao Yuan, don't be afraid. Rescue is almost here," he said. "Someone tried to stop me from coming, but I fought my way through. She made sure I couldn't leave today, so I knew something was wrong. And I was right. Glad I made it." I saw his black hair catch fire. Luke asked, "Want to hear The Wind Rises? I bet you love it." The song he practiced for 2 months. He sang it while flames licked his body. His voice trembled from pain, but he sang gently. "The night breeze brushes past your hair, smooths the scars, memories tear. Your eyes hold both dark and light, and bloom at once when you smile." As the firefighters safely carried me down, I burst into tears. 17-year-old Xiao Yuan didn't know why it hurt so much, but she knew. Her scars would never heal, not even at 30, not even with white hair. "You want me to heal, but without you, how can I?" As Luke fell backward into the flames, he used the last of his strength to shout, "Live! Go to your future!" "Hello, classmate Xiao Yuan." "Goodbye, classmate Xiao Yuan." I jolted awake. The wind had lifted a corner of the letter on the desk. I walked toward it slowly, chest aching with sorrow so heavy it nearly bent me over. Countless memories swept through me, forgotten, reborn, all crashing in at once. And then I understood. All the writing on the letter had vanished, except for one line that had been there since the beginning. Classmate Xiao Yuan, I like you. Don't act like you don't know what's good for you. The letter flipped in the wind, faintly revealing something on the back. With trembling hands, I turned it over. On the back was a penciled sketch of a girl's profile, turning back in a corridor, her hair blown by the wind, brows soft and youthful. It was 17-year-old Xiao Yuan. Below it, scrawled boldly, My dearest, beloved classmate Xiao Yuan. You didn't really think I wouldn't recognize you, did you? In that moment, I understood Luke's meaning. Classmate Xiao Yuan, you didn't really think I wouldn't recognize your handwriting and tone, did you? So cheeky, so smug. I bent over, tears streaming down. Luke, you liar. You never liked Julia. You lied all along. You knew how bleak my future would be. That's why you followed my lead. On the cover of the letter, I had once written down the original timeline, afraid I'd forget. February 2017. I met Luke. He was annoying. March, we ran to the beach together. He was okay. April, I liked Luke. He was great, good at basketball. May misfortune struck. Luke saved me, fought for justice. June, Luke died in a fire. But now, everything's changed. Only. February, I met Luke. March, we missed the beach escape. April, we drifted apart. May, I fought alone in the dark. June, Luke died in a fire. I tried to change so many things, but no matter how many times I rewrote the past, Luke would always, without hesitation, save me again and again from fire and flood. The wind outside suddenly picked up. The white curtain puffed violently. I almost couldn't hold the letter. It felt like a pale butterfly about to tear apart. My memories surged. The old ones slipped away. The new ones took over. The letter and its cover vanished together. I screamed, but it was no use. I remembered nothing. All I knew was that in February 2017, I met a boy named Dawson. He was kind of annoying, had pretty eyes. Later, he practiced a song for the school festival and ended up with the famous Julia. Then I got caught in family chaos and faced a tragedy I never wanted to revisit. But he was good. A kind classmate who saved me from a fire and died from severe burns. I've always felt guilty, always grateful. I visit him often, bring offerings to his grave, check on his mother. That's all. Years later, someone asked me if there was someone I'd never forget in this life. I answered without hesitation, yes. What's his name? Luke. That blind date guy tried to see me again, but found I'd blocked him. My mum never dared push me into another date. She could hear the chill in my voice and felt scared. I quit my dull job and revisited the media university. When I saw the students from the nearby police academy walking out, I looked up and suddenly started to cry. I returned to media work, focused on reporting about sex education and awareness for minors. I finally did what Luke wished for. I walked into my future, and he will forever stay young, forever shining bright.